The June primary served as testing grounds for both Ralph Northam and Ed Gillespie. The road to becoming their party's nominee was years in the making, but did not come without roadblocks. In 2013, Democrats swept the top 3 elected offices in Virginia state government. Terry McAuliffe, the longtime Democratic operative and fundraiser, was elected governor. State Senator Mark Herring was chosen to be the new Attorney General. Both are from Northern Virginia, and both won very close races over their Republican opponents. By contrast, Ralph Northam, the soft-spoken doctor from the Eastern Shore, easily won his race, defeating conservative firebrand E.W. Jackson by more than 10 points.
I just remember, his lieutenant governor campaign was so basic. I remember I was doing a profile on him for WTVR, and he just called me on the phone and said, "Hey, could you just show up at this Starbucks and we can talk?" That was his style back then. Very folksy, very down to earth. Certainly not someone who adapted the DC mantra.
But for the next 4 years, Northam would largely be overshadowed by McAuliffe and Herring, who would often receive national attention for their statements and actions regarding hot-button issues like gay marriage, abortion, health care, voting rights, and immigration. In fact, many believed Herring, not Northam, would be the Democratic candidate for governor in 2017.
This is one of the big questions that I think historians of Virginia politics are going to look at down the road. But I would tell you that I was a little surprised when Mark Herring decided that he wasn't going to challenge Ralph Northam.
In September of 2015, Herring announced that in 2017 he would seek re-election as Attorney General, not governor. Herring said it was a personal decision made for a combination of reasons, including family and that he loves his current job. But others believe the path for Ralph Northam was cleared by someone else.
I would suspect that the governor might have had something to do with how everything played out.
Maybe Governor McAuliffe signaled that he felt that Ralph Northam would be a stronger candidate in a general election, largely because he had some more moderate views than Mark Herring did, and maybe it would be easier for him to win.
Northam announced his intention to run for governor that November, and for more than a year it seemed like he would get the Democratic nomination unopposed. But in January of 2017, former Congressman Tom Perriello announced that he would challenge Northam. It was a move that caught many Democrats by surprise and set the stage for a spirited and sometimes volatile primary between the two men. While they agreed on many issues, Perriello frequently brought up Northam's prior support of George W. Bush and touted his endorsements from progressive stalwarts like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
His plan calls for close to $500 million. And I think this probably goes to the heart of understanding why Dr. Northam voted for George W. Bush.
But Northam leaned heavily on his record in the General Assembly, his military service, his experience as a physician, and what he called an ability to reach across the aisle when necessary. While polls had them close, on primary day, Northam cruised to a decisive victory.
Ed Gillespie, who I'm supporting, obviously, for governor.
While he had fallen just short of his bid to take Mark Warner's seat in the U.S. Senate, Ed Gillespie's performance in that race elevated his stature within the party, and his focus shifted from Washington to Richmond. In September of 2015, aides close to Gillespie confirmed that he was planning a run for governor. He made it official the following month after State Senator Mark Obenshain announced he would not run. At one point, Obenshain was seen as the Republicans' next great hope after losing an extremely close contest to Mark Herring in 2013. But to many, it was clear this was Gillespie's time.
Remember, in Richmond, people care about the governor's race. They sure are active in the presidential races and they're active in the senatorial races. But the establishment, the political establishment in Richmond, this is their Super Bowl, the gubernatorial race. And for the Republicans involved in the Richmond GOP establishment, they want a horse that they can win with. And after his performance against Mark Warner in 2014, they thought the horse was Ed Gillespie.
But Gillespie would not go unchallenged in the primary. He faced several challengers, including Congressman Rob Whitman, State Senator Frank Wagner, businessman Denver Riggleman, and Corey Stewart, the conservative chairman of the Prince William County Board of Supervisors. Whitman and Riggleman would ultimately drop out, leading pundits to believe and polls to indicate that Gillespie would easily win the nomination. But as Mark Warner had learned in 2014, what's expected and what actually happens are often two very different things. Except this time, it was Gillespie playing the role of Goliath.
I think the big surprise, actually, was how close Corey Stewart came to Ed Gillespie in the primary.
The anti-establishment Stewart, perhaps best known for his full-throated defense of Virginia's Confederate monuments, hit Gillespie hard, questioning his conservative credentials, criticizing his past as a lobbyist, and attempting to paint him as an out-of-touch elitist.
The difference is we need to expand our Second Amendment rights in the Commonwealth.
And while most polls show Gillespie up by double digits before primary day, it turned into a surprisingly close contest.
I think that was a unique phenomenon. I think Corey found a way to use social media and grassroots politics very, very effectively, maybe a little bit better than the Gillespie campaign, at least for primary purposes. But I think Ed's using those same channels of communication for the general election.
Gillespie ended up winning by a little more than 1 point.